So g'day all, and welcome to the shed. Gav here. Finally got these lower control arm bushes from the supplier. It's taken me a while to get them, about 3 weeks to be exact. There were none in the country through my supplier at the time, and the other minor suppliers didn't even have them on their books. So there you go, there's the part number there, which is different to the number on the bush. The number on the bush is 68648. So that's them. Okay, it says that the advancements in the materials have progressed over decades, and they have high tensile strength and tear resistance, and great memory, and softer than what Nolithane used to be. So let's see how they go. So let's get to it. Well, we've got the wheels off and the car jacked up. Well, we jacked the car up first and then took the wheels off, because that usually works better. And then we're about ready to do this side here. I've already done one side, so I've got some idea what I'm doing. There's a few difficulties I found, but we'll get on with it soon. So there's the right here's the offending bush. It's got the tear in it, and if we take that screwdriver into there, we can see we can move that control arm up and down quite simply there. So to pull that apart, we've got to take the whole lower control arm out. So we're going to take bolts off there. Back in here, there is 1, 2 bolts back in there. We've had to take off the sway bar link so we can get into one of those bolts, as the sway bar sits actually in the way of the bolt there, so we need to move that out of the way. And then there is, down behind here, is a ball joint that we've got to take off. I won't be able to show you that, it's a bit dark. So that's pretty much it. So I'm going to set this up on a tripod and let's see how we go. Okay, so we're ready to go. I've put a jack under the brake disc. I'm using that to jack up with. I've stopped the brake disc from turning around with a screwdriver into the brake caliper there. Probably not the best practice, but it works. And I'm going to jack the suspension up to its regular ride height, and then I'm going to attempt to get the ball joint off first. That seems to be my biggest problem, and then I'll undo the bolt back here on the bush that's stuffed, and the two on the front part there. You might notice my control arm's rather filthy there with a whole heap of grease and stuff. I had a CV boot go on me. I replaced that, and the clamp hasn't held on, so that's something I'm going to do after I've done this repair as well. I probably won't bother filming that, but let's get to it. So I'm going to jack her up a bit higher, just to wheel that. I'm not working under this jack. I have the car on axle stands, so it's quite safe to be working under. She goes. Lovely, that's great fun. Okay, that's up to about the height I want to work on. Ball joint time. Get the right size socket, that'll work better. Lovely. So these ball joints have a bolt that runs through them. I'm going to get some CLC on that. and pin arrangement ball joint. I really think it was easy to come out, but it's been my biggest problem, and it doesn't come out easily, but let's see how this one goes. Got like a collar with a gap in it, so I tried to open the gap up a bit. Mind you, it doesn't seem to make much difference, but we'll use it. Okay, the hard part about this is that you cannot get directly on the top of the ball joint. You can only get partially there. So the ball joint's directly under the hub, so if the hub was off, it would be a lot easier to get out, but I don't feel like taking the hub out. So, let's see how we go. Get it moving like this. Now we've got it part of the way already. So my strategy last side was to get an Allen key, get on top of the pin on the ball joint. The hub's about here, and lever that like that. Kind of help get it out. Coming out. Got that as far as I go. I'm going to drop a little bolt on top of that, little nut. Give me a bit more distance to work with. Wouldn't you know it's gone these sideways. Okay. Come back in. Okay. There's the ball joint released. Oh. Just did that about an hour faster than the last time. Righto. So I'm going to undo the back there, and then I'm going to undo those two bolts there. So that was the bolt that holds the flower bush. Trying not to lose my nuts and bolts. Trying to get them mixed up. Mind you, I know which one's which. Okay. position, we get some leverage on it. On the 6-point sockets and breaker bars. Not much of a choice where to put the socket. Don't you hate those bolts that are just too tight to do by hand and really too loose to do with the socket. Anyway, it's out. Okay, well, there it is, control arm's out, and you can see that split in there, completely split all the way around. I'll get that all cleaned up and give you another look. So I've given it a clean up, and if we have a look at that control arm bush there, the lower bush, we can see that that's completely failed around that side. And the other side, I don't know if we can see it move. Yeah, just there, it's failed about halfway around. Both sides have done the same. There's the one from the other side. And you can see it's split just on this side here. If I turn it over, it's split almost all the way around on the underside. So to press these things out, I've made a couple of cup type arrangements with caps on the end. So what's going to happen is that one will sit on the bush itself, around the outside edge of it, to put pressure on that. And this one on the other side cups the bush to support the control arm. So that's basically it for pressing those out. So I'm going to try and set that up. Now I'm using a big G-clamp. You can buy these kits, but I just decided to make something up. A hydraulic press would be a lot easier. Anyway, let's see how we go. Okay, so we got it so far. I had to give it a little bit of a persuasive tap. That's alright. Let's see if we can get it to come the rest of the way. Okay, I can see it's going down in there now. There you go, it's going. And that's it. It's free. So that one was in such good condition when I gave it a little bit of persuasive tap, it just broke off. There was a very small amount of rubber actually holding it on. Okay, so the one I found yesterday, I actually just seated in there with a couple of taps of the hammer while I was using that to support the control arm, and then I was able to set it up with the cups again to push it in. So let's see how we go. Got that reasonably lined up, so let's start clamping it up and see how we go with that. So before I pull it apart, I measured how far the new bush has to go in, and it sits proud of the housing on the control arm by just over 5mm. And at the moment we're at 6, so a little bit more to go. That's about spot on. So there we go, there we go, our new knee mounted low control arm bush, ready to go back into the car. Okay, so all that's left is put it back in. Let's do it. So before I get started, I've cleaned the places where that bush seats. I've got rid of all the dirt, grease, dirt, and anything else that's there. Don't want anything like dust or dirt, grease between those mating surfaces. I've cleaned in there as well. Put a slight smidgen of grease just on that ball joint, just to stop corrosion and make it go a little bit easier. Let's get it in. Would be easier. I have everything ready to go. Tell you what, I got that floodlight on for you guys, and it's an old one. I think it makes more heat than what it does light. Anyway, got that ball joint seated under its position. And we'll lift it with the jack. So now, when you're putting new bushes in, you need to make sure that you've got suspension at its regular ride height. So I'm off the ground with the car, the wheels off, so I've got the jack here, lifting the suspension up to its regular ride height. So you need to do that before you tighten all your bushes up, so they're in the usual working range. So I've done that. I'm going to tighten up the bolt on the nut and bolt on the lower ball joint, and the two on the front control arm bush, and the one on the rear. And then all I'll have to do is do the sway bar link up on both sides, and that'll be that job done. Hang on. Righty tighty, lefty loosey. That done. Sway bar link can go back in. Okay, so don't forget to do that on both sides. Might rattle a bit if you don't. Let's have a look at its final position. So there's the new bush there, nicely into place, already flexing. It's got a little bit of movement in it. Of course it's a rubber bush, but it doesn't move as much as it did the last time, and it springs back the way it should do. So I'll finish putting this back together and give it a test drive, and then lastly it'll end up having a wheel alignment to make sure it's all good again. Okay. Thanks for watching.